All right, how's everyone doing today? Welcome to the Behind Bars podcast. I am Adi84. I am your host, and you are watching this on the Masshole Sports Network. And thank you guys for watching. This is episode one of hopefully many episodes. And basically, in this podcast slash videocast, whatever you want to call them these days, we'll be discussing basically stuff like bartender etiquette, drinks, types of alcohol, stories. Hopefully, we can bring on some actual, some other bartenders that basically have been in the industry for X amount of years, either more or less, and just in general, just tell stories. Basically, this is for people to go who are interested in becoming a bartender, who are a bartender, and want to share the stories, and want to add some feedback and some tips to the trade, or people who just don't know anything about it and are interested in the whole entire thing. So it's basically a little bit of a combination of everything, and we are here to do it. To give you a little background about myself, my name's Adi, and I have been doing this for about 20 years now, bartending that is, in Massachusetts, New Jersey. Did I say New Jersey? I'm not New Jersey. Massachusetts, Maryland, Virginia, D.C. is what I meant, and also Florida over the course of the last 20 years. I've been in the restaurant business, either full-time or part-time, since I was 16 years old. So we're talking about close to 24 years at this point. So I know a few things about the industry, if you will. I also, as a full-time job, work as a restaurant design and consultant as well. So I basically have been in the kitchen, busting tables, working the bar, prepping in the back, all the way to designing the restaurant and getting to exactly where you want. So there's a few things I know. There's a few things that people don't think of when they think of restaurants, or bars for that matter. But I am here to kind of bring it all together. So if you have any questions or if you have any opinions and stuff, to bring it together. So thank you for watching. If you watched this far, please subscribe. At the end, we really hope for you to leave some comments below. Feeds, give us some input and tell us what you think about the whole thing, and maybe share your experiences. And if you're interested in coming on the show, I'd love to have you guys on. So we were live here from Studio B at the Masshole Sports Network studios. This is our little makeshift bar setup that we have right now that we will be elaborating and obviously making a lot better as episodes go on. But for the time being, this is kind of our setup over here. Today's episode, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to do some taste testing. We're going to talk about a couple beers that are hot for the summer. Sam Adams products, there is. And we're also going to talk a little bit about bartending school. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? It's hard to say. I will give you my opinion on both sides of it. And from there, we can go and you can make your decision if it's worth for you to go or not. Because it isn't exactly cheap. And we'll get into reasons why I think maybe you shouldn't or maybe you should. We'll talk about that. But first, let's talk about the beers. All right, so let's get this party started. And let's try a few beers here. So our first beer we're going to try right here is the Sam Adams Summer Ale. And this comes in can and bottle and also on draft. And this is one of 4 beers in the Sam Adams Summer Variety Pack. Now, Summer Variety Pack will have these 2 beers, the Pool Party and the Summer Ale, as long as the only place I've ever seen cherry wheat in a can, and the Porch Rocker, which is a Rattler beer. All 4 beers are phenomenal. It is probably the best summer pack I have ever seen in the history of beers, and I may be getting a little exaggerated there, but from my opinion, I think it's great. I think I love everything about these beers, and they're all great beers to drink in the summertime, have at the beach, have at the pool, and all that good stuff. So we're going to start the Summer Ale right here. It's a wheat ale, and it has about 5.3% alcohol, which is perfect for a day at the beach or at the pool. You're not going to get too cuckoo about it. The IBUs on it are 8. Now, if you don't know what an IBU is, or you're new to beer or whatever, I'll give you a little rundown. This is basically right from the internet. You can Google it yourself. An IBU is a standard for International Bitterness Unit, a measure of beer's bitterness. It'll go from anywhere from a 0 to 120. Now, this is an 8, meaning it's on the very low end of bitterness. Now, we're talking about the higher IBUs will be probably like mostly, I would say, IPAs that are very hoppy and very, very bitter. That would be on the extreme end. But if you're looking for something that's like nice and subtle, nice and soft, nice and smooth, this is where it's at right now. Sam Adams Summer. The hops. I'm going to butcher the name of these hops. So if you're familiar with these, and I incorrectly pronounced it, please correct me. It is the Tau hop, the Middle Fruit hop, and Noble hops. Okay, there you go. So I butchered the hell out of that. So yeah, the Hella 2 Middle Fruit Noble hops. So it's a Noble hop. How's that sound? We'll keep it nice and simple right there. How about we call it the HM Noble hop? Works for me, right? And for the yeast he uses, the Sam Adams ale yeast. So obviously a lot of these breweries will use their own yeast that are been perfected by, their master brewers and everything. They use them over and over again. Remember, yeast is a living object. It is what makes basically the alcohol in the beer, or any alcohol for that matter. And it's a micro, I think it's like a micro, what do they call it? Micro something, but it's a living thing. It's you're literally putting something that's producing. It's multiplying. It's kind of gross when you think about it at the same time, but it's actually pretty cool. But the Golden Haze. So the color we're going to call this the Golden Haze 7 SRM. This is all per the Sam Adams website. The malts of the Sam Adams 2-row pale malt blend. Special touches: West African grains of paradise, lemon peel, lime peels, and orange peels. Yeah, when you taste it, you can really taste. You can see that you can really taste the citrusy. In fact, and it tells you how you get these. You can get in all different varieties of packs. But when you drink it, the citrus really, really brings itself out. This would be great served with a lemon, a lime, or an orange. We haven't experimented yet, but I think this would make a really, really good kind of shandy if you put some Sprite mixed with the summer ale to add a little more carbonation, a little more sweetness to it. Now, mind you, it's super sweet, and shandies could go to the dark side really easily. But I think that it's a possibility if you want to, get a little more sugary to it, make it a little more, fancy, right? But like I said, definitely good to drink with a lemon or lime. I could even, I wonder. Now this is just going on a limb here, because of such a fruity and citrusness of it, a salted rim perhaps with a lime, similar to you would do with a Mexican lager, may add another element, kind of like a, when you think citrusy, kind of you're thinking sometimes like a margarita or something of that nature. But this is a beer, perhaps whatever floats your boat. What I like to do sometimes with my beers is a little bit of grenadine, especially to flavor up a beer that may have a little blendness, like a Bud Light, for example. I'll drop a few drops of grenadine in there to sweeten it up a little bit. I know some people are like, what? That's crazy. But no, it's like, it's not bad. The first time I ever had a beer like that was up in Montreal, Canada. And what they did was they took like a light beer, they added a little Sprite and a little grenadine, kind of like a shandy, and it was very, very refreshing and very tasteful. Beware, a lot of sugars equal hangovers. So, proceed with caution, as I like to say. But the summer ale, I gotta tell you, is absolutely delicious. And if you have an opportunity to pick it up. Of course, 21 and older, of course. All right, so we move into the next beer that we're gonna be talking about. And Sam Adams hasn't talked about much on the website yet, because this is a brand new beer. It is called the Sam Adams Pool Party. I'm not sure if this is the only way you can get it is in the variety pack. I have not seen it individually sold, as the other three you can. Cherry Wheat, obviously, the Summer, and the Porch Rock are all sold in 6-packs and separate packs of my own. But the Pool Party, as far as I know, you only can get it in a bottle and can in the variety pack. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm apologizing if I don't know the information on it. I already started drinking a little bit, so we don't have as much in there as you would. But I'll tell you a little bit about it. The ABUs is 5.5%. The IBUs, as we already talked, the bitterness units. This one's a little more bitty. A little more bitty, if you will. It is a 30 IBU. The bitterness is definitely there. It's not extreme bitterness. It's a smooth bitterness. I think at this rate, at the 30 IBU, is a perfect place for for a beer of this magnitude to basically hang out, have a nice summertime pool or beach day. You're not getting heavy down with those heavy IPAs that really could one and done. Some of these IPAs that are really, really high on the IBUs, I could literally just have one and I'm done with the whole experience. This one, you could have a couple. It is smooth. It is easy on the palate. The description says it's a hazy golden ale, features a splash of tropical notes, medium hoppiness, and a smooth, refreshing finish that says, come on, the beer is fine. Basically, come on, the water's fine. I'm playing on words for that matter. But this is a very, very tasty beer. This is hopefully one that comes back next year. A lot of these beers, some of these times they make these beers and you can't get them anymore. But for sure, definitely get this one. Right now, like I said, you only can get it in the 4-pack or the variety pack for the 4 beers in it. But between these two and the other two, there's not one beer that is not worth drinking. You know, a lot of times you get these variety packs and it's like, And typically I would get these in bottles, but because I had gotten these in cans because I was going on a canoeing trip last weekend, as I talked about on the ID84 show, another show on this network. Feel free to subscribe to that one as well. We basically talked about that whole experience. So, with that said, these are the 2 beers of the week. We're going to be trying to feature at least a type of drink, either a drink, a beer, a wine, a type of spirit over the course of these programming, and hopefully you learn a little bit. Hopefully you can share some stuff that I don't know about it, and hopefully we can get everyone's input on what they think when they leave comments below. That's what it's all about. It's us being socializing and knowing what we're knowing about beers and such. But these 2 beers definitely worth checking out, and that does it for the sipness. I like to do this first because it allows me to enjoy a great beverage while I talk about the second half of this program. And the second half of this program, we're going to talk a little bit about bartending school. And is bartending school worth it? Is it not worth it? What do you think? So, just real quick, I'll tell you. If you're looking to become a bartender and you have 0 experience on making drinks, then perhaps bartending school would be helpful for you. And I'll explain why. The bartending school will not teach you how to be a bartender. It will teach you how to be a drink maker. You can't teach someone how to be a bartender because the whole process of bartending is more of a social aspect. And either you're sociable or you're not sociable. And if you could be a non-sociable person and make a great drink, you would be more of a drink maker, I would say. You'd be more of a person that's great in a service well at a restaurant. Someone who just making drinks for the mass and doesn't really want to socialize. Now, a bartender is someone that can do a little bit of both. They can socialize, they can, embrace, some of their regulars, of new people, share stories, just be very, very open, entertain people. A lot of people come to a bar, they're by themselves. Sometimes they're lonely, sometimes they're just looking for someone to talk to. As a bartender, it's a great opportunity to befriend this person and make them feel comfortable, make them feel home. Because as a bartender, you are basically bringing people into your home. And your home, for that time being, is the bar. And having spirits served to them of any sort just kind of makes the moment a little bit better as well, right? And even if they're not drinking alcohol, there's plenty of people who have sat in the bar at the time just drinking sodas or waters, and you can still have a sociable conversation with them. And that's part of being bartender. It's a fair mix of basically knowing how to make the drinks, being efficient of it, being fast, and also being able to carry on conversation and be able to maintain a bar. Now, the biggest bar I ever maintained by myself was probably 25 seats, all fully occupied with people standing in the back by myself while doing the service well. To me, it's not that big of a deal. I could do that probably blindfolded on my head. But because I've been doing it for 20 years. Now, if you were very new at this, something like that was very overwhelming. When I started, and the fact when I was left behind the bar alone after the other bartender left, and I had basically the bar top and the service well to take care of, it got very intimidating and got very fast and very quick. But you quickly learn shortcuts of how to do stuff and still being efficient. So, what bartending, and we'll get into that in other episodes of how being efficient with the bar, but we're going to focus just on bartending school on this episode, just so you guys have an idea of the beginnings of it all, okay? So if you have never bartended before, then you might want to consider going to bartending school. Because big bartending school will do is teach you fundamental drinks, right? It'll teach you how to make drinks. It'll teach you measurements. It'll teach you what the tools are called. It'll teach you the difference between spirits. It'll teach you about alcohol content. It'll teach you possibly about IBUs, any other terminology that has to do with beer. It will teach you the fundamentals of basically a broad perspective of bartending in general. Now, this could go anywhere from how to make a Cape Codder, all the way to taste testing wines and being able to distinct the different properties of the wines depending on what kind of grapes they are and what varietal they are, right? So it all depends on how much your bartending school does and what extent and what in depth they do with the learning. Most of them will teach you for day one, all right, this is bartending school. Here's a book of recipes. All right, we're going to practice making drinks. And it's a lot of just making drinks, right? They don't really teach you how to socialize with the customers, how to introduce yourself, how to sell. It's more or less, the very, straightforward kind of, this is what it is. You're going to make this drink. This is how you make this drink. This is what's in this drink. This is this type of spirit. This is different between this type of spirit. Maybe they get into how the spirits are prepared, how they're made. Possibility on those too, like I said, depending on how far your bartending school goes. It's a lot of stuff you could just do by watching YouTube videos. I'm going to be honest with you. You could go on, there's thousands of YouTube videos, hundreds of thousands of YouTube videos, teach you how to make drinks and tell you what's the difference between drinks and properties. I learned how to brew beer just watching YouTube videos, and I've been doing that for about 10 years now. And that's all it took was a couple of videos, and I was able to do it. Same you could do with making drinks. And if you want to get a history of beer, a podcast, video cast like this will also give you some history and some tips about beers, just like we just did for the first segment. So all that material is available out there for free. Whether it's worth $250 or I don't know how much these classes cost these days, but I know they've gone up since I first looked into them 20 years ago. Now, I was told 20 years ago when I was thinking about taking a bartending class that it's not worth it. And this was from a veteran bartender. And I'm passing on the same story he told me. He goes, the thing is, you could learn how to make drinks, but when you get stuck and thrown behind the bar, you're going to have to learn on your own how to fend. So either you're good at it or you don't. The best bartenders are people that can talk to the customers. Now, how many times have you gone into a restaurant or gone into a bar? And I've worked with these people, trust me. And here's your drink. And they walk away. And they're on their phone in the back and everything. And how many times you walked in and, hey, well, what would you like to drink today? Well, what do you like? What do you like? How do you like that? What are you into? What are you interested in? Asking some questions, getting some feedback. And a lot of times they're, well, I don't know what I want to drink. Well, what do you like? Do you like something fruity? Do you like something spicy? I can figure it out for you. Do you prefer vodka? Do you prefer whiskey? These are all questions you ask when someone doesn't know. Instead of saying, I don't know, here's the menu, and you just give it to them. Now, there's times where it's busy and people ask you a lot of questions. They're like, well, what kind of tequila did you have, for example? Now, if you're a tequila bar, most places have them listed. And you just be, oh, we have 50 tequilas. Here's the list categorized by what types they are. Take a look. Let me know what you like, and I'll come around back for you in a second, and we'll get what you want. Stuff like that. It's as simple as that. So it's being able to bring a person and guide them into what kind of beverage they would like and start the experience, if you will. I know it sounds a little cheesy when you experience, but when you're sitting at a bar sometimes, you can make a break if you're coming back to that place or not. There's a lot of dive bars where you just get an arrogant, angry bartender back there who's been doing it for so many years and doesn't give a shit. But as long as you get your Budweiser and your shot, you're a happy camper, right? And there's other places like where I worked was at a part of a hotel. So I had a lot of people coming from out of state, a lot of people from out of town, a lot of people who'd never been here before, a lot of time people who aren't familiar with the town. And then I had a nice mix because it was in the town I grew up. So it was also a lot of people that I knew growing up came in, and a lot of locals too. So I had a nice mix of the both of them. So in that situation, it really gives you another level of able to entertain because now you're teaching people about the area. You're able to tell people some shortcuts around the city, things to see, things to not to see. You're really involved in their vacation in a way, and you're giving them a tip. There's been many, many times over the years that I have basically, have given my number out to tourists, to couples, and older people who are just walking the city who need some tips. Shoot me a text if you have any questions. I'll make sure I'll be able to help you out if you get into a situation, right? That's what a good bartender does. So that's something they don't teach you in bartending school. Now, the best way of becoming a really good bartender, and I've learned this just by experience, is just watching bartenders who are older than you. Now, there's a problem with the younger generation that I run into a lot when I'm trying to train on the bar and trying to teach, and it's basically their arrogance of thinking they know everything, which they really don't. At the end of the day, if they've never bartended before, or even if they served and never been behind the bar before, it's a whole different ball game. So going in with the attitude of I know everything is probably the worst attitude you could go into. And I'm guilty of that as well. As when I was a younger person, I was a little, I had a chip on my shoulder. I thought I knew everything. And as I, quickly got situated with everything, I realized that no, I don't know everything, and I should be listening to these people who are older than me bartending. Now, when I started, I was 21 years old, and I was working with a guy who was about, one guy who ended up being my best friend was 9 years older than me, and another guy who was a little bit older was about 15 years older than me. Now, these guys really knew their stuff, and they've been doing it for, obviously they had at least a 9-year lead on me. And listening to them and watching them and working how they do stuff and picking up stuff they do really, really good, and then also learning about what they don't do very well and trying to do better on it. So some of these guys are really, really good at talking to the customers, right, and socializing, putting on a show, which is mostly bartending anyways. And I was very admirable watching these, and I was like, this is very, very good, very, very good tips to watch, right? Then you watch sometimes, well, they weren't quick on the well, or they weren't able to make drinks, or they forgot stuff, or they couldn't balance the menu, food menu with the drink menu. And you picked up on those little boo-boos they made, and I'm sure I do the same exact thing, and you figure, how can I do that better? How can I be more efficient doing that? So that alone was worth its price in gold, right there, weight in gold, they should say. Just be able to shadow someone for a while and watching them for over the years. And it took years for me to be able to really navigate the bar in an efficient manner. And in fact, every time I started a new bar or at a new place to work, there was a learning curve for about 3 months to try to get acclimated, because you want to know where everything is. If you're working at a bar for so long, you know where everything is. You don't even got to think about it. You're grabbing stuff. You're working your way around. You know the system. You know how the food comes out. You know the POS very good. When you go into a new place, it's about a 3-month learning curve before you can actually figure it out. Yes, you still have the skills to be a bartender. You know how to make drinks, and you know how to talk to the customers. But to navigate your surroundings is a third of it, and you got to learn that before you learn anything else too, right? Now, that's the biggest concern too. That's another thing they don't teach you at bartending school, is when you get into a new bar, where everything is and learn where everything is. When you're in class, everything's right there, right? But you work at different restaurants. So in some restaurants, if you're a tequila-heavy restaurant, you have a lot of tequilas on speed rails for you that are quick. If you don't know what a speed rail is the rail that's typically in front of the ice well that you're working on. It could be onto the side. It's somewhere that it's easy to grab with speed, right? So stuff you use a lot, right? So if you're at a Mexican restaurant, you're using a lot of tequila and triple sec. If you're at a martini bar, there's a lot of vodkas you're using, right? If you're more of like a divey kind of bar, you're probably using a lot of whiskeys, right? So these are things to think about when you're there, and they're all going to change depending on what you work at. That's the first thing you want to know, is where everything is, where your glassware is. Process of cleaning glassware, just going to the back. Do you clean the glassware? Because if you're cleaning, that's another thing you got to think about for your time management. Another thing they won't teach you about bartending school. So, in a nutshell, I guess I'll classify it like this as we get to the end of this podcast, is that if you are brand new in the serving industry and don't have a clue, even if you don't intend to be a bartender and you just want to serve, then I think taking some classes at a bartending school are very helpful for you. And the reason was because it'll teach you about the stuff you'll be serving, right? And of course, every restaurant has a different menu, has a different varietal of spirits and beers and wines, and they're all going to be different. You got to learn them, you got to remember what they are. But at the end of the day, it's all the same after a few weeks, right? And going to bartending school will teach you what's in the drinks. So if someone asks you, you don't go to the bartender, you don't ring in a Long Island, you don't ring in a Cape Codder with Jack Daniels as your upgrade alcohol, and then you'll be like, what's that? And then you have to have a conversation, right? Something simple as that. You'll know what drinks have what in there, right? And you'll even learn the name of these drinks, and people don't even call them. So people go Cape Codder. I haven't heard someone call it a Cape Codder under the age of 65 in all the years I worked, right? There were old people call them like that. You had old names for all these drinks, right? So that's something to think about as well, too. What's in it, right? It's vodka cranberry, right? That's what most people will say. It's the easiest thing to say, but you'll all get a Cape Codder, right? It is what it is. That's how people are trained. People have been ordering drinks for a long time. That's what you know, right? And it's also good when you're in these classes to know what's in these drinks, because then you could offer upgrades as well. So if you're selling martinis and you know that your base vodka is saying Absolute, well, you could say, well, you know, the menu will obviously say made with Absolute vodka, but you could say, would you like to upgrade your vodka with that? Maybe you have a preference, whether it's Tito's or Grey Goose or something of that nature, and then you could upsell your bill as well, because these are all upgrades. These are all extra dollars. And remember, most people in most places they're tipped on a percentage, right? So the higher the bill, the more percentage of a tip you get. In most places in the United States, it's 20% is pretty reasonable tip for someone with good service. So a $100 bill gets you a $20 tip with that in mind, right? And it's obviously, it varies depending on where you are around the country. It also depends where you are around the world, because there's some countries that just don't tip, which comes into a situation, which we'll talk in later episodes, when you work at a bar that has a lot of foreign tourists, and how do you deal with the whole tipping situation, right? So without going out on a limb, I would say, and I know I just repeated myself, if you want to learn a little bit more about spirits and drinks and beers, wines, and all that stuff, and how they're made, take bartending school. If you've already been working in the industry for years and you're a server and you already know some stuff, or even if you're a bartender, don't. It's a waste of money. You're just going to be teaching stuff that you already know, and you're going to sit in these classes, you're going to be bored, and you're going to be like, why did I take this class and waste my money on something that I already know fairly well, right? So think about that when, you know, you are crossed with this decision. It's a lot of money to spend on something that, like I said, you could go on YouTube and teach. In this episode, in these programming, what we're going to be doing here on Behind the Bar is we're going to teach you how to make drinks. We're going to teach you difference. This is going to be something that we're going to be showing you guys for absolutely for free. All you got to do is subscribe to this channel on the Mass Sports Network, and we'll be giving you material every week for you to watch, or to you to search, or you to save, right? And we'll be teaching you everything you need to know about bartending. I don't consider myself an expert, but I said I've been doing it long enough to know the ins and outs and what to do and what not to do. And that just goes with just doing something long enough. You know, it's I call it it's essentially it's an art form, right? When you think about it, right? It's people look at it as, you know, for me, for example, it started off as a part-time job, working at the bar I'm at 20 years ago, and it's turned into something I've been doing part-time and sometimes full-time at certain points in my life since basically for 20 years, right? So something to think about, and also something to consider when you think about if you want to go to bartending school or not. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys take some of that in thought. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Also, check out the Sam Adams Pool Party and Sam Adams Summer Ale. Two great beers that are part of a variety pack for the summer. And you really enjoy these. In fact, hopefully they bring this to a regular selling product, kind of like they did with the Porch Rocker, because if they don't, it's going to be very upset, because that's a really, really good pale ale right there. So thank you guys for watching. I'm Marty84, and I'll see you guys next week. See ya.